In this video, we're going to introduce the idea of functions. Now, we're not going to get as in-depth with functions as we can. We're going to look at the basics of what is a function, how do we define a function, how do we call or use a function. And as we go through the course throughout the year, you'll see lots of examples of functions and all the different types of things we can do with them. So first thing I want to do, this is the file from our last video here. I want to comment out all these conditional statements, but instead of putting the double forward slashes in front of all these lines, I'm going to show you how to do what's called a block comment. To do a block comment, I go up where I want it to start commenting things out, and I put one forward slash and an asterisk. And that starts my block comment, and then to tell the computer where to stop commenting out lines, I have to go down to where I want it to stop, and then I just put an asterisk and a forward slash here. So everything between this one here, the forward slash asterisk, and the asterisk forward slash has now turned green and is now commented out. So this is what's known as a block comment, and that just saves us from having to type the double forward slashes in front of each line. So if we scroll through our program here, you can see everything is commented out in here except for our variables up here and our update function, and we need to make sure our update function has this starting opening bracket and a closing one so we don't get an error. Now we want to write a brand new function, and we've been using function update. Update's a built-in function that Unity knows what to do with, and of course it runs every frame. But let's say we want to make our own function to do whatever it is we want to do. So we're going to scroll on down here, and we're going to get down to the very bottom of our file. We cannot have a function inside of another function, so this little closing curly bracket here matches this one up here. So this is the starting and ending part of function update. So I need to get outside of all those to make a new function. So to define a function, we use the word function, all lowercase. Then we put a space, and then we give our function a name. So we can name this whatever we want. So let's just call this my function. Now function names, we start with capital letters. You'll notice that all of our variable names, as we've been going through, we've been using lowercase letters. So we use capital letters for functions. And every function after its name needs an opening and closing parenthesis. So that's my function definition. Now I need to go down to the next line and do a opening curly bracket and then put in a closing curly bracket. Again, these curly brackets just tell the computer where to start a block of code and where to end it. So everything that's inside these two curly brackets will be included in my new function here, in my function. So this is how the computer knows what lines of code belong to this function. Alright, so let's have this function do something. So let's tell it to print hello from my function. Okay, and we'll save it. Now what functions do, functions give us a way to put groups of code together as one group and give them a name. So basically everything in these brackets will be inside of the function that's named with my function's name here, my function. The reason that we like to do this is there are many times in programming where we want to do the same thing in several different places. So maybe we want to print out or update the score, let's say, in your game in several different places throughout the game. Several different events will add or subtract from it. Instead of writing those same exact lines in several spots, we can write them just once in a function and then just call the function up. So up here in my update function, here's the end of my update function, so we'll just go right here. If I want this function to run its instructions, I have to call it. So right now it would just sit here and nothing would happen because it's just sitting here. Nothing's telling it to run its commands. So to call this function, I just give its name. So if I just say my function, and then you want to do your open closing parentheses afterwards, when the computer sees that, it's going to jump down and it's going to do whatever is in between the curly brackets. So it's going to run all these instructions, and then it will just go on to the next line of my update function. So let's save this and let's clear out our console and let's run this. And when we do, remember the only function that's running automatically in here is this update function. So nothing's happening here because we commented it out until we get to this one line where it says my function. When it sees my function, it's going to go out here and do everything that's inside of here. So it will print hello from, I put 4, hello from my function. So let's save that again. Alright, and we'll run it and see what happens. And here you see in our console, it is printing every frame hello from my function. Okay, so again, that's the basics of what a function is and what a function does. It's just a way to define a group or a block of instructions and give it a name, and then we can just put this, call its name anywhere we need it to be, and we can keep using this same chunk of code over and over and over again. Instead of typing it several times, we can type it once and just call its name. So it saves us a lot of typing. It helps us not have so many lines in our code, and there's a lot of different things we can do with functions. Functions are one of those basic building blocks of a program. It's a way to divide up the work of your program into smaller pieces, and the smaller the pieces that we can divide things into, the easier it is to understand and the easier it is to get the errors out of and all of that. So that is the basic idea of a function and how to write one. So now we have looked at variables, we've looked at the mathematics, we've looked at conditional statements, we've had a brief look at functions, and we're going to start putting all these basic pieces that you have learned together to make our first little game program, which we will start in our next video.